Welcome back to the Pain Game YouTube channel. We are talking UFC 303. Originally, Conor McGregor was supposed to have his big return, but a broken toe, allegedly. It may be a rehab if you're listening to Chael Sonnen. Who the fuck knows what it is? Something kept him out of this event. What we do know is Alex Pereira also has a broken toe, and he fought, and he stole the goddamn show. And it is ironic that Conor McGregor really used to be the main man who the UFC could rely on. And now Alex Pereira has without doubt cemented himself as one of the faces of the UFC with stunning performance after stunning performance. This guy is box office, and he's doing it all at the age of 36 years old. My God, I know he had a good kickboxing career before this, but to come into the UFC with a matter of a handful, not even a handful of MMA fights beforehand, and just tear through division after division, multiple division champion now. It's insane what he's doing, and he's doing it by fighting the best and by taking them out in devastating fashion. It's really not rocket science, but what it is fucking spectacular. And the aura around this guy, it really reminds me of The Undertaker in the WWE. Like, people are scared of him. When he stands across the octagon from you and he has this death stare in his eyes, you're just terrified to get touched by this guy, because it really is all it takes. One touch, you're out. And I honestly don't remember many UFC fighters having this kind of aura around them in the UFC, where Yuri Prohaska, before the fight, is saying to him, don't use your shamanic black magic on me. Like, fight me honestly. Like, that was the point where I was like, you fucked me. To say he's not in your head when you're worried about magic he's going to use on you is bullshit. You know, I already felt like this was over before the fight even started, and that is the aura we're talking about here of he's beaten you before he even gets in the octagon. Maybe Chuck Liddell from way back had that level of aura. It's unique, and it's one of a kind. Let's look at the stare down before they took each other on. And Yuri Prohaska, to be fair to him, played his role. He is such a martial artist. He understands the pageantry, you know, the performance side of it before you throw down. And Alex Pereira here looking like a villain in a Jean-Claude Van Damme kickboxer type movie. Like, he is cinematic. You know, he looks like a movie star. And they did this for ages. Like, it's ridiculous how long they just stared at each other. But it hyped me up so much more for the fight. We need to do more of this. So let's talk about what happened in the actual fight itself. Now, what I will say about Pereira is his management of distance and his fight IQ is phenomenal. What he does is he gets in there and he frustrates you. He makes you feel like he can hit you and you can't hit him. Now, obviously, that's not the case, but when he does land, it's so much more significant than his opponents that they feel immediately like they're at a massive disadvantage and they're chasing the fight, and that makes them get desperate. And when they get desperate, they take risks, and when they take risks, they get punished for it. Pereira actually reminds me a lot of Anthony Joshua in the way he controls the fight and sets his opponent up to make mistakes. And you can't make mistakes with a guy who hits as hard as Pereira, similar to Anthony Joshua. You just don't get many second chances, man. And what I do like about Pereira is, although he's famed for his headshots, he goes all over before he goes to the head. He works the body, lovely jab to the body. That's so unusual to see. And he works the legs. Both legs were beaten up very quickly in there, and Yuri had to clinch because, you know, he was getting taken apart very fast. But he didn't set a takedown up to throw Alex Pereira off of his game plan. It was too easy to defend. It was too easy to read. And Yuri Prohaska is usually very hard to read. He's very wild. He's very unorthodox. But Pereira's power and his accuracy keeps him honest. It keeps him from being as wild and unpredictable as he normally is, because he will get clipped. You can't fuck around like that with an Alex Pereira, because when Pereira throws, he doesn't telegraph it. You don't get that opportunity to brace for impact and therefore take the shot better. That is why not only obviously he hits hard, but that's why he's so devastating, because it's the ones you don't see coming that hurt the most, and it's very hard to see his shots coming. And what really illustrates this point is at the end of the first round, Yuri, as I've said, dives in, takes major chances with a power puncher like Alex Pereira, hands low. Pereira obviously got his hands higher up, and immediately gets clipped right on the fucking chin. Pereira's distance management is just too good. He knows exactly where you are, spins into the punch, gets lovely little torque onto that hook, and boom. That would have been game over at the end of the first round. Only the fortune of the bell saved Yuri Prohaska in that moment, but it wasn't for long. Yeah, his legs weren't good there. His legs were not good. Now, apparently, one of the ways Pereira's camp set the downfall up of Jiří Procházka is they were watching him warming up, and they realized that when he's checking leg kicks, he completely drops his hands. He's focused solely on his lower body, and he switches off completely, and therefore, his head would be wide open for the head kick. You know, you feint low, go high, and it's game over. And that's exactly what happened. And here comes the head kick from Pereira. Again, no telegraphing there. It was over. Herb Dean should have stepped in. That man wanted to catch a body that day. I want a body on my record. In the words of Deontay Wilder, fuck me, Herb. And poor Jiří is out. He should not have been allowed to stand up here. And just the mere looking at Alex Pereira sends him back to the canvas. Maybe that is black magic. The beauty of this is Jiří can sit in the bar one day being like, nah, I would have had him if it wasn't for the black magic, man. I would have got him. That was the only thing that kept me from the win. And in regards to the legacy of Alex Pereira, you look at the fact that he was middleweight champion, then moved up the light heavyweight and won the title there. Anderson Silva moved up the light heavyweight for a couple of fights, never won the title. This puts him in a very elite level of fighter where he's now in the conversation. People are going to look at John Jones's legacy at light heavyweight and go, I don't remember him head kicking people and knocking people out the way Alex Pereira did. Like, he's inserting himself into that conversation. I'm not saying he's better, before people get carried away in the comments, than Anderson Silva and John Jones. I'm saying he's putting himself in the conversation, and people are already wanting to see, can Alex Pereira fight John Jones at heavyweight? And I've got to say, this does piss me right off, because Tom Aspinall is the interim heavyweight champion of the world. He is now having to defend that title. I've never seen that done before once in my life. You fight for the title after you win the interim title. That's the way it always goes. But because John Jones wants to fight old man Stipe, who currently has no wins over any current active heavyweight on the UFC roster, by the way. Let that sink in. Everyone who Stipe beat has now retired or left the UFC. That is how long it's been. And yet John Jones is selling the world this bullshit about how he's got to fight Stipe. My arse to you, mate. Anything to avoid the bad motherfuckers of that division currently. And John Jones has been asked about fighting Pereira. And let me preface this by saying, John Jones is now 265 pounds, right? He is bigger than Alex Pereira, and he's a wrestler. We know Pereira's weakness is wrestling. We know stylistically this would be a much preferred matchup for John Jones than Tom Aspinall, who is just as big, if not bigger, than John Jones, can use reverse wrestling very well to keep it on the feet, and hits hard and fast. I think he would be a nightmare stylistic matchup for John Jones, which is exactly why he wants to fight old man Stipe. But nevertheless, let's read the quote. He says, when I beat Miocic, I might give him a chance, but only if he beats Aspinall. You see what he's doing there? He's doing that thing Fury used to do this, where he'd get the guys who, he'd want one of them to soften the other one up, basically. In any case, it would be an easy night for me. I would choke him out just like I did Gan. I'm the king of the jungle. Look, he probably would, because there's holes in Alex Pereira's game that at 36 years old, with very limited amount of time in MMA, he's probably not going to be able to make those adjustments and clean his act up in time for a fight against such a well-rounded, lifelong MMA fighter like John Jones. But I don't want to see that until Aspinall gets his rightful shot against John Jones, providing Aspinall wins his fight at UFC Manchester. That being said, eventually, if Aspinall does get his rightful shot, I would love to see Pereira versus Aspinall or John Jones, depending on who wins, because having a man compete for 3 world titles, 3 different divisions, would be unbelievable, and Pereira's the guy to do it. I totally am supporting of that. I mean, look, maybe if John Jones does what we all expect him to do, which is pussy out and fight Stipe and run off into the distance, never to fucking return to fight Tom Aspinall, then we'll get Aspinall versus Pereira for the undisputed heavyweight title. That would be fucking sick, because what Aspinall is lacking is a champion to really crown him undisputed champion. And even John Jones didn't do that at heavyweight. He fought fucking Cyril Gane, who's never been world champion. You know, at least Aspinall would have beaten a champ for it. But let's move on to another part of the card. MVP versus Ian Machado Gary. And now, a word from our sponsors. Now, I get DMs all the time from men asking me, Bri, why can I not keep a woman? And I've got to be honest, I look at some of your profile pictures and I see the way that's groomed. God knows what down below is looking like. So if you want to get a bit of repeat business, and I mean that purely in a metaphorical sense, I hope no money's changing hands here, you got to make sure you're looking after yourself. And that's where Manscaped come in. Manscaped will have your balls shining so well, they'll look like a set of mirrors, right? Women will be looking at them doing their makeup in them, for Christ's sakes. And I know some of you lot are a bit worried about the idea of taking a trimmer to the ball sack, but trust me, this thing is unbelievable. unbelievable. NASA couldn't make something as good as this. So not only are you safe in taking this to the ballsack, but it's also very fast, very efficient. It's not something where it's like, oh, you have to clear an hour out your schedule just to trim your balls. This is brilliant. And there's 3 different trimmers you can choose from. There's the Lawnmower 3.0 Plus, the 4.0 Pro, and the 5.0 Ultra. And each trimmer is equipped with skin-safe technology, an LED spotlight, and unique features for different grooming needs. And they're waterproof, so you can hop in the shower and get everything done nice and clean, jump out, you're good to go. And if you're not sure which one to get, the 3.0 is like your basic trimmer where you can just get rid of everything and you're good to go. Or if you want the more advanced ones, the 4.0 and the 5.0 are worth a look. So if you're still showing up for date night, unkept, not ready for action, step your game up, lads. Get to manscaped.com and use the code TRUE for 20% off and free shipping. Don't forget the code is TRUE, all block capitals, all one word, at checkout. But for now, enjoy the video. Now, Ian Garry is a very talented fighter, and I'm entertained by his character, right? I know a lot of people don't like him, and sometimes I don't like things he says, but I'm interested, and that is something he's done well, right? We've got to give him credit for that for a start. But before this fight, he fought Jeff Neal, and there was a lot of talk about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and in the fight, he didn't perform to anywhere near the level of expectations he himself has set from previous performances, and also all the shit he talks, right? I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. He did not deliver to the level he was expected to. But the excuses came afterwards. Jeff Neal's a great fighter, yada, yada, yada. So I let him off. I'm like, okay, fair enough. You can't always be 10 out of 10. This fight against MVP was a really good test to go, okay, where the fuck are you really? How good are you really? And again, he promised a lot of things. I'm going to be faster than him. I'm going to outstrike him. I'm going to do all this shit. Honestly, he didn't deliver on a single thing he said other than winning the fight. And even then, it was highly fucking debatable. So what he did well was the first round, right? He gets MVP down and takes his back very, very comfortably. He's got him in a choke, and you're thinking, he's going to finish this. Now, he couldn't quite finish the choke, and MVP wasn't great on the ground. He was making basic mistakes where he wasn't turning in to the body triangle where basically you've got to turn towards where the knee locks with the foot underneath. He wasn't doing that. So you could see there were limitations in MVP's ground game, and Ian Garry wasn't quite exposing them enough. But still, a dominant first round, so I've got to give him credit for that. Oof. Fuck me. Second round, however, MVP was lighting him up a little bit there. The level difference between MVP and Ian Garry on the feet, I thought would be fairly close. It really wasn't close. Garry went for another submission attempt in a knee bar, but again, he just looked submissive on the feet. He did not look confident, like I can stand and trade with you at all. Ooh, lovely jab. And Garry was smiling after he was getting hit, which wasn't filling me with any real confidence that he felt like he was able to hang. And that right hand over the top, mate, you didn't do anything there. He just took it. There was no anticipation. There was no answer back. He didn't know what the fuck was going on there. And here, I mean, Garry hitting thin air, just throwing from a mile away. It was a real eye-opener because I've seen him do well on the feet against other fighters where his level was. In the third round, Garry desperately trying to clinch again. I mean, he really did not want to stand up with MVP. Ends up on bottom, however. MVP wasn't able to do a lot of effective ground and pound from on top position. It wasn't impressive from him either in that moment. Garry holds on to the back of MVP. And look, I will say Garry's submission skills look like they're evolving. I know he's working with Damian Maia. Fair fucks, like he's working to be a well-rounded MMA fighter, and that'll take him far. But it did look a bit desperate. It looked like I've got no answers for you on the feet. It's not like I can hang with you on the feet a bit and then I'll try and do some other stuff. It was like, for fuck's sake, let's avoid the feet completely here. Him hanging onto the back of MVP like this, it wasn't an impressive way to win a fight at all. It didn't look like he really won the fight. Like, could you have given it to him on points? Yeah, they did. Not a problem with it particularly. But has anyone sat there going, definitely won that? Not at all. Dana White himself said it was a draw. I can't think of a single significant punch Ian Garry landed on MVP in the entire fight. And that's not great for a start, but the way Ian Garry talked about this fight beforehand, and he gives it the McGregor style chart, but here's the thing, he always compares himself to McGregor. But what did McGregor do? He backed up what he said. Ian Garry is doing the opposite of that. You're not backing anything up in this fight, aside from winning. And if you're going to try and sell yourself, the key is to deliver on whatever you're selling. Because if you don't, we will never believe you as fans. Key problem here that he's going to have unless he starts changing the messaging. And even after the fight, it was so disconnected from what really happened. It was bizarre.
And I will say this now, the two single greatest people in the world that have calf kicks are me and Alex Pereira. I didn't throw any today in him.
Listen to what he's just said. I have the greatest calf kicks, but I didn't throw any today. And he makes the point that MVP wants you to do that and it's a trap, yada, yada. But like, so what, mate? And I'm saying this not to be a dickhead to this guy, right? Like, I don't like him, hate him. It's just the reality. It's mental to fans to listen to that. If you've got great anything, fucking use it, pal. Don't tell us after the fact when you spent 15 minutes in a cage and not used it.
I've told everyone this. I mean it. I have the smartest fight IQ in the game.
When he says these things, I'm like, you didn't land a significant punch on this guy in 15 minutes of fighting. So when you're bragging about how smart you are, fuck me, it just doesn't look like it. I'm not saying he isn't, because I do think he's a smart fighter. I'm not disputing the point, but you just have a bit of read the room a bit. You know what I mean? You didn't land a real big punch on him in 15 minutes and you're banging on about how smart you are. Gotta think more about how you're selling yourself.
I showed so much evolution today. I frustrated. Like, I snake charmed a snake charmer in my mind. I made him frustrated. He likes people to do that dance with him, to move, to keep that flow, that rhythm, and he works well off that rhythm, that timing. I hit him with stealth mode.
I hit him with stealth mode. I snake charmed the snake charmer. Do you know what happened? You went in there with a striker and dove in for takedowns. This is one of the oldest things in the history of MMA. We've seen it since I started watching nearly 20 fucking years ago, mate. There's nothing special about that. Snake charm the snake charmer. Hit him with stealth mode. The reason people dislike this kid is because he bigs himself up far more than his actual performances warrant. Let the other people big you up, mate, because Conor McGregor, when he was selling himself, and you're very aware of this, was actually doing what he says. You're not doing that right now, mate. I'll quickly finish on Dana White talking about John Jones being the pound for pound number one.
Respect for pound. This guy destroyed the best heavyweight in the division.
He didn't. Cyril Gane is a good heavyweight who has competed 4 titles and never won one. He's not the best heavyweight. Come on.
John Jones is the pound for pound best fighter in the world and the greatest fighter ever.
I get it though. Dana's a promoter, right? You've just signed John Jones to a fat contract. You can't be having debate about it. And he knows fine well the lineal champion is actually Ngannou. And then you've got Tom Aspinall there, who's looked far more impressive and fought far more people as of late and been fantastic in the heavyweight division. So he's wanting to throw all his weight behind John Jones.
He got hurt.
I get it. I'm not criticizing.
He was trying to fight.
Was he trying to fight? I remember him taking 3 years out to put weight on while Francis Ngannou was fighting, active, and he didn't want to know. But anyway.
The guy came to fight. It's the first injury he's ever had.
The injury happened a long time after he took all those years out, by the way. And look, the thing is that Dana's getting frustrated is a lot of people are saying Makhachev is pound for pound number one. He has been on a tear lately. The last big performances from John Jones are years ago. He fought fucking Anthony Smith. Did you see how bad Anthony Smith looked last night? He went 5 rounds with Anthony Smith, and you're trying to get us to acknowledge him as pound for pound number one when Makhachev has taken out Dustin Poirier like he just did. I can't. I'm sorry. Like right now, yeah, Makhachev's the guy. All time, you can call John Jones greatest of all time because we're talking about his whole career. What have you done for us lately? Because pound for pound isn't all time. It's right now. That's all I've got to say about the UFC 303 card. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. I didn't cover all the fights, sorry. I'm a busy guy right now. I've got a lot of videos to catch up on. I've been ill. Apologies, but I will be back with plenty more. Hit the subscribe button, like the video. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.